Hey, shalom, shalom. First off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodash, and double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, holding the truth of the gospel of Yahawashi from, through the Holy Spirit. Honor, salutations, and blessings to the men that are preaching the gospel of Yahawah, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI in all sincerity, diligence, and truth. And peace, grace, and blessings be upon the house of David, which is the elect, the men, women, and children that are listening and learning, keeping the faith of Yahawah, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI, and staying in the Holy Spirit to the best of your ability, day in and day out. So I just want to touch on this lesson, Lord willing, be edifying unto the elect. All right, trying not to make it too long, but this is centered, as its title reads, the law is not made for a righteous man. Okay, the law is not made for a righteous man. Now, this is inspiration of this lesson came from a conversation that me and a few brothers in the camp was having, concerning the laws and how in certain situations it seemed as though that righteous men were doing things that would seem to the carnal eye as going contrary to the law or breaking the law. So one of the brothers he had a valid question about if the law said this, then why do we read certain situations where you had men, all right, particularly men of the Lord that would seem as though to do something that would look to go against what the law is stating not to do. Okay, so we was having that discourse for a little bit, and and this is the beautiful thing about staying in holy conversation, right? All right, and being amongst the brotherhood. That's why the scriptures tells us not to neglect not the assembly. All right, because as Yahawashi said, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, let me get that, 2 or 3 gathered. Let's see. Yep, Matthew chapter 18, verse 20. It says, for where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name. Actually, let me start at verse 19. It says, and again I say unto you, that if 2 of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Okay, so this is why it's very important to be amongst men of like mind. All right, and that's whether it has to be we would love to be able to do that physically, but actually be in each other's presence. But because of situations of brothers' lives and where brothers live, hey, that's why the Lord has it to where we have the telephone, right, and Zoom, WhatsApp, so on and so forth. Just Skype, not Skype, but FaceTime, whatever, the phone. And when you do that and you are speaking in holy conversation, hey, Yahawashi is there, right, working on our minds, man. Okay, giving us greater understanding of the scriptures, right? Because as Yahawashi said, these scriptures are like living water, so you can never actually obtain all of the information. All right, and when I say obtain all of the information, I'm meaning like there's many-fold revelations that you would get from the scriptures, man. All right, that's why it's called the book of the living waters. All right, that's why it is the living waters, because it's always moving. But nonetheless, brothers were speaking about a law, and particularly when you go into the book of Leviticus chapter 17, I'm gonna start at verse 1, and I'm gonna jump around. But it says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, and unto all of the children of Israel, and say unto them, this is a thing which the Lord has commanded, saying, whatsoever what man soever there be of the house of Israel that killeth an ox or a lamb or a goat in the camp, or that killeth it out of the camp, and bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, to offer an offering unto the Lord before the tabernacle of the Lord, blood shall be imputed unto that man. He hath shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people. Okay, to the end that the children of Israel may bring their sacrifices, which they offer in the open field, even that they may bring them unto Yahweh, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, unto the priest, and offer them for peace offerings unto the Lord. So, long story short, when the Lord gave this commandment through Moses, first and foremost, we was in the wilderness, right? So that's why he speaks about that inside the camp or out of the camp. Okay. We wasn't actually established in the land of Israel. We got the laws we got the laws, statutes, commandments while we were in the wilderness. All right. But even further on, because we know that, these laws also didn't just apply to the wilderness, right? Because they were the laws, obviously. But it says as it goes down, right? It says that what? So when you wanted to basically give a offering unto the Lord, okay, you had to bring it before the tabernacle of the Lord, okay, which you had, basically that's where the Ark of the Covenant was at, and that's where the priest was doing the orders, the ordinances, sacrificing, all right, doing the Levitical priesthood order. Okay, that's why I said you had to bring it unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, unto the priest, and offer them for peace offerings unto the Lord. Right? Verse 6, it says, and the priest shall sprinkle the blood upon the altar of the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and burn the fat for a sweet savor unto Yahweh. So this is basically the order, right? Or the ordinance that the Lord gives to Moses, all right, to Aaron and his sons and the children of Israel, so the Israelites. So this was the order that the Lord gave unto Moses. But there was a reason why he gave this order, okay? Because all of the laws, they were for a practical sense. And remember, Israel just came out of Egypt, right? Israel just came out of Egypt, where they were amongst heathens, specifically the Egyptians, but you also had other, a mingled multitude amongst, living in Egypt as well, where they were doing, committing idolatry. They were following after the ways of their own gods, speaking about these heathens. So this is why when you read the laws, a lot of the laws is predicated upon not doing what the heathens were doing. That's why in verse 7, it says, and they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils, after whom they have gone a whoring. This shall be a statute forever unto them throughout their generations. So this was the reason of this ordinance. Okay. The reason for this ordinance was to prohibit Israelites from offering sacrifices unto devils, which is what? Idolatry. All right. And that was that's the first commandment. Thou shalt have no other God before the Lord thy power. You see, but you had Israelites that were susceptible to, the carnality. They were susceptible to following after strange gods. All right. So the Lord told Moses to say, look, tell Israel that they can't do any sacrifices unless they bring their sacrifice into the tabernacle and it be offered unto the Most High. So they can't go outside of the camp, and just do a sacrifice by themselves, because, and this is the reason, because how would they, how would the congregation know upon where you're giving this sacrifice unto? Like, who are you giving this sacrifice unto? Now, if you centralized it, right? If you centralize your sacrifice unto the tabernacle, then then everybody know, everybody within the camp knows, okay, this man did this sacrifice to the Lord Yahweh, all right, because he's bringing it unto the priest. He's bringing it unto the door of the tabernacle, all right, and he's offering it unto the Lord as a a sweet savor. But if you do this on your own, so to speak, then you can be a man, an Israelite man, a son of Belial, could end up sacrificing unto strange gods. That's why he says in verse 7 that they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils after whom they have gone a whoring. So this was already something that Israelites were doing. All right. So now when we jump, and like I said, the law is not made for a righteous man, because this law, as you see right here, was made so that really unrighteous men will be prohibited from offering sacrifices unto devils. So when we go to the book of Judges, because this is where we was reading today, we was reading the book of Judges, 13th chapter, and we read about Samson's father, Manoah, all right, or Manoach, right? When he saw the angel that came to his wife and told him that, his wife was about to, have a child, and that child was going to be a Nazarite. All right, it says, I'm gonna go straight to the point. Where were we gonna start? Right. Verse 15. So it says, and Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, I pray thee, let us detain thee until we shall have made ready a kid for thee. So he wanted to basically show him hospitality and basically feed him. Now this Manoah did not know, as I'm going to say in the next verse, he didn't know that this man that he was speaking to was an angel. Verse 16 says, and the angel of Yahweh said unto Manoah, though thou detain me, meaning, yeah, I'll stay with you, because he prayed, he said, I pray thee, let us detain thee, basically, let us keep you, like, let us lodge with us. And then the angel said, yeah, though I lodge with you, or, I'll stay with you, I will not eat of thy bread. And if thou wilt offer a burnt offering, thou must offer it unto the Lord. For Manoah knew not that he was an angel of the Lord. Okay, so the angel tells Manoah that although you're going to detain me, I'm not going to eat, and I'm not going to have dinner with you. All right, and if you offer a burnt offering, you got to offer it unto the Lord. And Manoah said unto the angel, what is thy name, that when thy sayings come to pass, we may do thee honor? And the angel of the Lord said unto him, why askest thou thus after my name, seeing it is a secret? So Manoah took a kid, which is a baby or a young goat, with a meat offering, and offered it upon a rock unto the Lord. And the angel did wondrously, and Manoah and his wife looked on. So now when you read this, which is where the conversation that brothers started having, where the conversation stemmed from, when you read this verse, right, where he did this sacrifice, this offering, as it says, and he took the kid with a meat offering and offered it upon a rock unto the Lord, and the angel did wondrously, and Manoah and his wife looked on. For it came to pass, when the flame went up toward heaven from off the altar, that the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame of the altar, and Manoah and his wife looked on, and fell on their faces to the ground. Right. So now when you read this and you compare it to Leviticus 17th chapter, which was the law, this would seem as though that Manoah broke this law. All right. It would seem as though that Manoah broke the law of offering an offering, all right, doing a sacrifice, but he didn't bring it, as it says, offer an offering unto the Lord before the tabernacle. Okay. So you were supposed to bring it unto the tabernacle, as it says in verse 4. Read verse 3 again. And what man soever there be of the house of Israel that killeth an ox or a lamb or a goat, which is a kid, a kid is a young goat, in the camp, or that killeth it out of the camp, and bring it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, to offer an offering unto the Lord before the tabernacle of the Lord. So Manoah didn't technically bring this offering that he did unto the tabernacle of the Lord. All right, which I believe in this time was in Shiloh. All right, he didn't bring this offering into the tabernacle of the Lord, but however, and this was the the conversation that we was having, right? Why would the Lord or why would the angel allow Manoah to bring this altar to have a sacrifice in this manner when the law states this? But when you tie it all together, it's because ultimately, when you go into it, the law is not made for a righteous man. Meaning what? This law was to prohibit wicked Israelites from doing sacrifices or offering sacrifices unto devils, as you read in verse 7. All right. And there's other accounts in the scriptures where you had a man of the Lord, right? A righteous man of the Lord give offer a sacrifice, build an altar and offer a sacrifice unto the Lord, although it was not done in this manner. You see, I believe Gideon, for instance, was another example. Okay, and even with Elijah, right? I don't believe Elijah wasn't a priest, right? But Elijah, when he was contending with the prophets of Baal, right? He built an altar, and he did a sacrifice unto the Lord, and that was an acceptable thing because ultimately that Elijah wasn't doing it unto a sacrifice unto devils. You see? So now let's jump right here. Deuteronomy 32 verse 15. It says, but Jeshurun waxed fat. All right. Jeshurun is means upright. All right. It's a term of endearment that the Lord would use talking to Israel. All right. It says, but Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, and are covered with fatness. Then he forsook God. Then he forsook power, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils, not to God, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. Of the rock that begat thee, thou art unmindful, and hast forgotten the God that formed thee. All right. See, this is why Samuel told Saul that what? Obedience is better than sacrifice, because that's ultimately what the Lord has desires of us, man, to be obedient. But because you had Israel that wax fat, right? And when it says about wax fat, when you read up, it speaks about how the Lord put us on, made us ride in high places. He gave us the increase of our fields. He gave us the milk of sheep, the fat of lambs. Basically, the Lord took care of us, right? The pure blood of the grapes. He took care of us. And then Israel got this in this spirit, or in this, mindset of, oh, we're good. We don't have any troubles, X, Y, and Z. So we could just do whatever we want to do. They got complacent. All right. And then that complacency, they started to get disobedient, because ultimately you have Israelites, right? Which is why the scripture says they that are of Israel, not all, they that are Israel, not of all Israel. Because you have Israelites who are, although they're the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're in their spirit, they're just prone to do evil. They're just prone to be disobedient. All right. They're just prone to go off. And you still see that even to this day. Okay. With these niggerites who worship, as they say, the nigger God. That's just them, even though that they know they're Israelites now, right? Even though they know the name of the Lord, all right, they know the name of the Son, but they show forth that they're just they're what? They're just children. They're just children of disobedience. You see that there's nothing new underneath the sun. So reading on, it says, verse 19, it says, and when Yahweh saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be. For they are a very forward generation, children in whom is no faith. All right, now word faith in the Hebrew is amawan, which goes into loyalty. All right, when you're faithful, that means you're loyal. But Israel started to be disloyal unto the Heavenly Father, which is why the Lord already knew this about Israel. Even though the Lord told Moses, Moses told Israel that, when I'm gone, y'all gonna go off. All right, let me see if it's in the same chapter. Oh, this is good right here. It says, verse 28 says, for they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. You see, you have Israelites that are not, they're not wise, man. They're wise to do evil, but to do good, that there is no knowledge. There is no understanding. So this is why you have the law. Because the law, it was put there, the law is there to prohibit Israel from them, doing evil. But for a man that is righteous, you don't need something to tell you not to do evil, because you already have the mind to do good. And I use an example, for instance, let's say a seatbelt, right? You have the law to put on your seatbelt. Okay. And if you don't put on your seatbelt, you get caught without your seatbelt, then you would get fined because you're not driving safely. But if you are already a safe driver, then you automatically, when you get into the car, you're going to automatically put your seatbelt on. You're not putting your seatbelt on because, you're thinking about the law of the law of you have to wear a seatbelt or you're going to get fined. No, you're putting the seatbelt on because you are already a safe driver. So it's like a second nature thing for you to do. Another example, murder, right? Or robbery, or stealing. Somebody who does not desire to steal, somebody who does not desire to murder, they're not concerned with the law of, don't steal. That when I say they're not concerned, meaning that they're not subjugated or binded by that law, because that's not something that they are desirous to do. All right, and that's once again why the law is not made for a righteous man, and that's scriptural. So you read this, 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 8, it says, but we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully. Okay, the law is good if a man use it lawfully. What does that mean? Let's go here to the book of Luke chapter 6, verse 6. It says, and it came to pass also on another Sabbath that he entered into the synagogue and taught, and there was a man whose right hand was withered. That he, obviously speaking by YAHAWASHI. And the scribes and the Pharisees watched him, whether he would heal on the Sabbath day, that they might find an occasion against him. You see that? Because remember, the scribes and the Pharisees, they were very knowledgeable in the law. All right. And they justified their righteousness by the law, which you can't. Okay, you can't justify yourself by the law. You see? But them being very knowledgeable and grew up in the law and understanding the law, they was looking at YAHAWASHI to whether he would heal a man on a Sabbath day, because by the quote unquote air quotes technicalities of the law, you're not supposed to do any work on the Sabbath, right? It's the Sabbath. The seventh day was the Sabbath of rest. So you were prohibited, so to speak, from doing any work on the Sabbath, any servile work. So they were looking at Yahawashi, saying, "All right, let's see if he's going to heal this man, so that we can accuse him for doing work on the Sabbath." All right, that's some nigga shit, and that's ultimately because they're not spiritual. All right, and we're going to get that. If you're not spiritual, you're not going to understand the spiritual aspect of the law. Verse 8, it says, "But he knew their thoughts, and said to the man which had the withered hand, Rise up and stand forth in the midst. And he rose and stand forth." Verse 9, "Then said Yahawashi unto them, I will ask you one thing. Is it lawful on the Sabbath days to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy it?" And looking round about upon them all, he said unto the man, Stretch forth thy hand. And he did so, and his hand was restored whole as the other. Okay, so Yahawashi asked this question. I believe, let me see something. He asked this question, but nobody could, as it says here, verse 4, "And he said unto them, Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath days, or to do evil, to save life, or to kill? But they held their peace." All right, and it says, "And when he had looked upon," this is in Mark the 3rd chapter, obviously, verse 5, "And when he had looked round about on them with anger, let me read that again. "And when he had looked around about on them with anger, being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, he said unto the man, Stretch forth thy hand. All right, let me see something real quick. Right? It says, "He looked around at them angrily and was deeply saddened by their hard hearts." You see that? So the Lord was angry because these people, right, these scribes and these Pharisees, they were trying to tempt the Lord or accuse him for doing something good on the Sabbath, because according to the law, you're not supposed to do any work on the Sabbath. But Yahawashi, he understood the spiritual aspects of the law. He understood spiritually what the law was to do. All right. And that's where you have a lot of these men that are claiming to be teachers. They're not spiritual. So although they claim about although they claim of teaching the law, I believe it says that back in 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, says, "Desiring to be teachers of the law, understanding neither what they say nor whereof they affirm." See, so they're desiring to be teachers of the law, but they don't understand the law because they're not what? Spiritual. Let's go here. Romans chapter 7, verse 14. "For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin." So in order to understand the law, first and foremost, you have to be spiritual. And this is why, as brother was communing earlier tonight, the conclusion of the understanding of why Leviticus 17 says what it says is ultimately to prohibit wicked Israelites from sacrificing unto devils. Okay, which is why when you go to Judges, Manoah, when he sacrificed it as the angel said, "Thou must offer it unto the Lord." That's the law. You can sacrifice. Sacrificing is lawful unto a man if he is sacrificing it unto the Lord. But once again, you have Israelites that are not spiritual, and you have Israelites that are wicked. You have Israelites that have waxen fat, that have kicked. So the Lord had Moses write these laws for those Israelites. For the wicked Israelites, thou shalt not X, Y, and Z. Let's go back to 1 Timothy verse 1 and 8 again. "But we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully, knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man. Why? Once again, because just like you laws today, a man that follows the quote unquote laws of the land, naturally, they don't have to think about, oh man, today thou shalt not, I can't go steal something, right? Or even you talk about the laws of the Most High. Today, us that are spiritually minded, we don't have to think about, oh, thou shalt not kill, because ultimately we are already in the mindset of not wanting to murder. Okay, thou shalt not commit adultery. Well, we are already in a mindset of not committing adultery. Okay, and that's why YAHAWASHI told told his disciples that your righteousness had to exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees. That you shouldn't even look upon a woman because it's in your mind. If you look upon a woman, you may not physically act upon it, but now you're not spiritual minded. All right, and the scriptures told you how a carnal mind is enmity with the Most High, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. So let's read on. It says, knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient. And that's what Leviticus 17th chapter shows. That law was for the disobedient Israelites that were sacrificing unto devils. For the lawless ones, for the ones that just was going about their own, following their own hearts. All right. It says, but for the lawless and the disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, for men stealers, and that's homosexuality, all right, for men stealers, for liars, for perjured persons, and if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine. So this is what the law was created for. It was created for the ones who were lawless and disobedient. It wasn't created for the righteous man, because a righteous man would be a spiritual man, and the law is spiritual. And if the law is spiritual, and if you're spiritual, then the laws, you are trying to the best of your ability in the spirit. The laws are in you in the spirit. Now, of course, we're in these vile bodies, so we're still subject to going off. This is why Paul said that, well, I'm a carnal man, sold under the flesh, right? Sold under sin, but the Lord is delighted in the inward man. All right, let's pull that up. The Lord is delighted in the inward man. Psalms 51, verse 5. It says, behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Behold, thou desireth truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden parts thou shalt make me to know wisdom. Okay, so the Lord desireth truth in your inward part and within your spirit. And if you are walking in that type of mindset, then you're not going to be tempted to do the evils that the law is there to prohibit you from doing. Okay, Galatians chapter 5, verse 16. This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lusts of the flesh. Why? Because when you're walking in the spirit, you're spiritually minded, and then ultimately the law was made. The law is spiritual, right? So you're not going to fulfill the lust of the flesh. You're not going to want to sacrifice unto devils, because as YAHAWASHI say, the Lord is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The true worshipers. For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary one to another, so that ye cannot do things as ye would. But if ye be led of the spirit, ye are not under the law. Okay, if you are led by the spirit, if you walking in the spirit, then you're not under the law, because you're not tempted or desirous or wanting to break the law or do the things that go against the law. But only a niggalite who serves, as they claim, the nigger God, which is really Satan, okay, they would do the things that are adverse to the law. Okay, so let's get Romans, the 8th chapter. We'll close it out. Close it out there. This is Romans chapter 8, verse 5. It says, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the spirit, the things of the spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. Okay, so they're not subject to the law of God, which we know the law is spiritual. This is why they break the law. And this is why the law was created not for the righteous man, but it was created for the lawless and the disobedient. But somebody that is spiritual minded, hey, the laws are not grievous, as it says in First John, the 3rd chapter. Okay, the laws are not grievous to somebody that is spiritual. So if reading on, it says, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the spirit cannot, Salakia, for they that are in the flesh cannot please the Most High. All right. I want to jump down to verse 13. It says, for if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if ye through the spirit, and if you live after the flesh, ye shall die. And ultimately, if you try to be justified by the flesh, okay, or by keeping the law, you're going to die, because you can't be justified by keeping the law. And this is why ultimately it's all goes back to what? Faith. All right. And in order to have faith, you got to be what? Spiritual. You can't have faith you can't be spiritual and not have faith. And you can't have faith and not be spiritual. So it says, but if ye through the spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live. For as many are as led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. Okay. And then how are you the son of God? What is that? John 1. And that's through who? YAHAWASHI. John 1, chapter 1, verse 12. It says, but as many as receive him, YAHAWASHI, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. So that goes back, it all points back to YAHAWASHI and having faith in YAHAWASHI, because that is how you become sons of God. And when you are a son of God, then by nature, right, by the Spirit, you're going to do the things that your Father, desires for you to do. That's going to be in your inward part. You see, this is one more. Galatians chapter 3, verse 23. It says, but before faith came, we were kept under the law, shut up until the faith which should afterwards be revealed. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us into Hamashiach, that we might be justified by faith. Okay, justified by the faith in YAHAWASHI. You can't be justified by the law, because the law really shows you your faults. The law shows you your shortcomings. All right, because we're in this flesh, we're going to break one of those laws. And as James said, if you break one of the laws, you're guilty of them all. Verse 25, but after that faith is come, we are no longer under a schoolmaster, right? Because through the faith of YAHAWASHI, we are no longer are under the bondage of the breaking of the law. Although we are in this flesh, we're sold under sin, but we are renewed, are new creatures in Hamashiach YAHAWASHI. Therefore, our minds now are to do what? They're spiritual. So our minds are washed through the regeneration of the word, as the scripture says, to now automatically, or not, I can't say automatically, but are desirous second naturally, if you will, to do the things that are lawful. That's why, committing adultery or having sex on the Sabbath, none of those things are grievous anymore, because through the faith we have the Spirit. Okay, and the Spirit is within us. Then the laws that the Lord gave are no longer it's not like a burdensome thing for us to do. The law is only burdensome unto somebody who is lawless, to somebody that is disobedient. All right, so Lord willing, end it there. This was edifying unto the elect, giving all praises, honor, and glory to YAHAWASHI, Shalom.